Hello everybody and welcome back to another video for the day. Now, I bet you weren't expecting to see this one. I bet you were just expecting it to cycle around, but you know what? Screw that. We're doing my own thing. Actually, it's not really my own thing. It's somebody else. They wanted me to do a story for their girlfriend and because they weren't able to be around them for their birthday. So, I just want to say happy birthday. Hope you guys have a good one whenever you're able to meet up. Now, if you do wind up liking the video, be sure to leave a comment down below, start up with some wholesome internet discussions, and if you have not already, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Alright, let's go. The first story comes to us from username Appa's Toe Beans. Nice guy feels cheated because I didn't realize he liked me. Yellow! All throughout quarantine, I've been binge watching Nice Guy stories from yours truly and decided to post a story of my own. Again, happy birthday. I was told that if I read this story, your life would be completed, and he gave me quotes for it, so happy birthday. Yeah, I only woke up 30 minutes ago and I only pre-worked my system. My thought process is kinda random at the moment. Think of it as like a shuffle on Pandora, or better yet, the bullet in Russian roulette. This story starts off in December, a little after my birthday. I had a party the week of my birthday and invited the star of the show, our nice guy, over to hang out with the rest of us. He told me that he wasn't able to make it, but that we'd hang out another time. Cool, no problem. I told him that was fine and went to enjoy my birthday party. Flash forward a few weeks later, and me and our nice guy, let's call him Leroy, are messaging back and forth and formulating a plan. We finally settled on going to our local movie theater and seeing The Rise of Skywalker to make up for him not being able to come to my birthday party. The day comes, he picks me up in his beaten up car, and we hit the road. At this point, me and Leroy have been friends for at least 3 years, so I trusted him. He told me that this outing was nothing more than a get-together to celebrate my late birthday, and I believed him because why wouldn't I? We arrived at the theater and we ordered our snacks and tickets. I told him that I had money and was willing to pay for at least my snacks, but Leroy told me not to worry about it. He told me that this was his treat and that it was my birthday present. He's a stubborn dude, so I shrugged it off and thanked him for being kind. He bought me a slushie and one big popcorn for us to share. We watched the movie and had a fun time cracking jokes the entire time. Afterwards, he drove us to a nearby restaurant and said that he would go get some ice cream. So we did, and again, we had a fun time. I then went home and didn't really think about it since it was just an outing with a friend. About a month later, I went out with another friend who ended up being my current boyfriend. We ended up falling for each other very quickly, and a month after our date, we started going out. Well, my boyfriend was actually Leroy's best friend, keyword being was, and Leroy didn't like us dating one bit. I actually didn't find out about this until April, but Leroy had feelings for me. I was taken aback by this since he had made no signs that he was into me. I just thought we were good friends. At first, I didn't really think twice about this since it wasn't really a big deal. I left it and carried on with my boyfriend like normal. Then Leroy gets a girlfriend, let's call her Kat, and they seemed to hit it off. They were together for about 5 months and then Kat broke it off due to some personal reasons. This comes into play later. After that, Leroy starts to take a turn for the worst. He ended up cutting Kat out of his life completely because he got pissed at her for a whole list of stupid reasons that we don't have time to get into right now, and then started punching his other friends for being seen with her, including my boyfriend. This has been going on for at least 4 months at this point, and everyone is fed up with it. My boyfriend made a group chat to discuss how to go about this because we obviously can't go on forever. Recently, we all started talking about this situation and a mutual friend of ours bringing up how Leroy had feelings for me. But something about this caught my attention. Our friend said how Leroy barked about how he felt cheated because I dated someone else. I told the group chat how Leroy never told me anything about having feelings for me and that I didn't even know about them until months later. I also mentioned our only outing being the movie night, so it wasn't like he was obviously dropping hints or anything. Then Kat chimes in and tells me that Leroy told her how that night was a date. I said that he told me that it was just a hanging out, joke to make up for missing my birthday and that he never once said that it was a date. She then explains how he went to her and told her how he took me on a date, and then I went and dated my boyfriend instead. At this point, I'm livid. Not only did he lead me under a false pretense, but he also told anyone who would listen to how I led him on and knowingly broke his heart and dated someone else just to hurt him. Suddenly, the way Leroy has been treating my boyfriend makes more sense. He's been pissy with him ever since we started dating in February and is still pissy with him now. Turns out, Leroy basically called dibs on me when we hung out way back in December and felt entitled to a relationship because he was nice to me. So when I dated his best friend, he felt like his girl was taken away from him since he liked me first. Finding out that someone who I thought was a good friend of mine is a nice guy / borderline incel was heartbreaking, but I'm certainly at my very best right now. My boyfriend and I are very happy together, and we're coming close to our 8-month anniversary together. Too bad if Leroy is mad because I couldn't be happier. Thank you for reading. TLDR, I went out with a friend of mine. Turns out he liked me and felt entitled to a relationship with me and ends up punishing my boyfriend for being with me instead. Yeah, you know them nice guys just like to get entitlement from proximity. Hope you have a wonderful birthday.
But wait! There's more!
Because, you know, I was actually told there was an update, so here we go. Nice Guy strikes again. Hello again. I didn't expect to be making a follow-up story to this whole situation, but this one is too good not to tell. This one involves Leroy, the nice guy from my last story again. If you are new here and didn't read my last one, Leroy is a nice guy that got mad at me for not realizing that he liked me and for dating someone else, and then decided to punish both of us for it. This morning, I checked out the group chat my boyfriend made and saw that he linked a Reddit post under r/relationship advice. I clicked on the link and lo and behold, it's a post Leroy commented under. I don't know what the original post said since it is now deleted, but Leroy went on to say how he had to cut his ex-girlfriend out of his life because he led him on for a year and effed one of his best friends. Not only did this man lie about Kat, his ex-girlfriend from the last story, again, he told the same exact story about me to her. This man is absolutely unbelievable and delusional. Kat never once led him on. The relationship just didn't work out because of some personal reasons. Leroy also makes it sound like Kat immediately went to F his friend right after they broke up, which didn't happen at all. What actually happened was that she and said friend just started developing feelings for each other about 3 months after she and Leroy broke up. This one is a little shorter since there isn't really anything more to this. I'll be sure to post more Leroy content if I have any, but we do have the comments.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that this post hit differently from me. Man, it's a shot situation you've got, and I can really relate to it. I'm not gonna go into the full story, but me and my ex-girlfriend broke up for very similar reasons. She led me on for almost half a year after our breakup and effed one of my best friends. It effed me up hardcore. So I understand your story just a tiny bit. The part that effs me up is that he is trying so hard to keep you as a backup for if he fails, and that's not a fair thing to do. I cut my ex-girlfriend off and I felt a lot better about life. You can't hold yourself accountable to the happiness and well-being of others. You can only do so for yourself. He's made it way too hard to be friends with him, and you have to find that courage to cut him loose. You're in a new country, having a new adventure. You should be able to enjoy yourself. You shouldn't have to worry about him. It's way easier said than done, and whatever decision you make will be the right one. In the end, it's your decisions to keep him or not. Like for me, in the end, I decided to talk to my ex again after she had a failed offings attempt. It broke my heart when it happened, and I fell back on that promise to myself, and the reason I say that isn't to scare you either. It's just something to think about, and proof that you can go back to these kinds of things. In the end, we are both happier since we had that cease of contact. I hope this was helpful. If you have more questions or if you need someone to talk to, my DMs are open. I hope you figure this out and find the best answer for you. You've got a lot of cool stuff going on. Enjoy your study abroad, and please enjoy life as much as you can. Make a lot of friends. Those dudes help you out a lot. I hope you figure this all out, fam. Dude, I know cutting off contact with somebody is good, but you do realize you can't really flex when they cut you off and then you try to make it sound like you were the right one. Our next story comes to us from username apparently Haley Goob. My encounter with a nice guy. This is my first post. The reason I'm making it is because a nice guy who I used to be friends with has recently started harassing my best friend and making her feel uncomfortable. I'm on mobile, so sorry if there's weird formatting. This will be a long story as well, so get yourself comfy. It started in summer before my freshman year of high school. I was at a summer barbecue and the host had a piano in their house. I asked if I could play and the host said absolutely. I played a few songs that I loved and a few songs that I was still working on when the nice guy in question comes up. He also is musically inclined, so after I was done, he sat down and started to play a song he had recently finished writing. At first, it was really nice, but after the first 5 minutes, I realized that it was just the same two movements over and over again. 5 minutes is starting to get long for a song, and I wanted to go hide somewhere, as this was a party and I was overwhelmed at this point. Parties have never been my cup of tea, and they probably never will be, but every time I tried to get up, he would get upset saying that he wasn't done yet, and that I really needed to listen to the whole song. I was bored at this point and trying to find things to do while he played this song. I started quietly humming along in the key signature that he was playing in. After 16 grueling minutes of the same two movements over and over again, he was finally done. I got up to go find something else to do, but he approached me and started commenting about how my vocals were amazing to him. I guess I was humming a little too loud sometimes because I didn't mean for anyone to hear me. Regardless, I accepted this compliment and in turn complimented his song, as I didn't want to appear rude and usually try to return a compliment when someone gives me one. He then proceeds to follow me around the party, continuously complimenting me on my voice, which in my opinion is mediocre, when I was just trying to find a quiet place to hide. Eventually his parents called him to say hi to someone and I got a moment of peace. Before I left the party, he came up to me and asked to exchange numbers. He wanted to write a couple of songs and wanted me to sing the vocals. I was excited. I had always entertained the idea of becoming a vocalist and this was my chance. I agreed and left the party feeling rather optimistic. However, he didn't contact me until almost 2 years later. I was a junior in high school. He finally contacted me saying he had written a couple of songs and he wanted me to come out and hang out before we did some recording. I had yet to be diagnosed with depression and I was very anxious at the time, especially since I was going to someone's house who I'd only met once before. I decided to bring my best friend since she was more or less my emotional support, and he agreed to also have her over. We laughed and watched videos and had a blast. I was smart to bring my friend with me because after that we hung out together, just the two of us, and the nice guy antics began. He wanted to hang out more time before we actually did any recording, and he insisted that we go bowling. I wasn't a fan of bowling because it starts hurting my wrist after a short while, but I had decided that anything was better than moping around the house. The entire time we bowled, he kept staring at me and making awkward comments about how pretty he thought I was and that he couldn't wait for us to record together. This weekend, he wanted to do some recording. He had told me that the previous guy who he was going to have sing vocals had suddenly asked to not have his vocals used, and that if his vocals were used, he would show up to the nice guy's house, his sister and mother, and then kill the nice guy's whole family while making him watch the entire time. I was naive at the time and thought I was skeptical and decided to give the nice guy the benefit of the doubt and took his side. This was a big mistake, as I later found out he was obviously lying to me. He had never lied to me up until that point, so I had almost no reason to believe that he was lying. What an effed up thing to lie about. Those were serious accusations that could mess up a person's entire life, even if they were proven false. He had me review a contract that his producer had
had written up, and said that he would pay me $100 for 2 songs. I agreed, and we got to work on recording. After about an hour or two of figuring out rhythms and key signatures, I had dinner with him and his family. His family is very nice, and I thought that aside from the eccentric behavior, he was a decent person. When it was time for me to leave, he gave me a hug and said something that was completely inappropriate. He told me that he loved me and that he couldn't wait for us to hang out again. This, along with the unexpected hug that I didn't consent to, made me extremely uncomfortable. Nice Guy started blowing up my phone the next day, and nearly every day after that. He would go on and on about how I was the first real friend he had ever had outside of family members, and that he had been bullied by not only the students, but also the teachers of his elementary school. Being bullied by the students I can understand, as we live somewhere where bullying is a major issue due to how many kids are part of a specific religion. But claiming that the teachers bullied him, this is when I started to doubt him. Apparently, his parents didn't even bother to get the full story and pulled him out of the school without actually confronting the school about it. He was diagnosed with severe ADHD and needed medication. However, his family believes in alternative medicine, so they never made him take his prescription. My brother has ADHD, and though he manages it well as an adult, it made him perform very poorly in school. My guess is that he claimed the teachers were bullying him because they gave him poor grades due to him not doing well in class, but I'll never know the true answer. He also would say that anytime he tried to make friends with someone, they would eventually cut him off for absolutely no reason and start bullying him. I began doubting him even more as time went on until the final event happened that caused me to cut ties with him. He began asking me to go to lunch with him and would say that we were just going as friends. There's a local Japanese restaurant in town, and I wasn't about to say no to having an excuse to eat there, so I agreed to hang out. He was always late, however, not 4 or 5 minutes late, but almost always 20 minutes late. He claimed it was always because he was very busy helping his parents run their coffee business and that they never respected the fact that he had plans. That seemed completely out of character for his parents, and for it to happen 4 or 5 times, I began to see how obvious his lies were. But him lying wasn't the worst part of us hanging out. No, the worst part was he started calling me pet names as if we were dating and kept insisting that he paid the bill. The pet names themselves were extremely uncomfortable as he kept calling me things like Cupcake and Princess and Marshmallow. The list goes on, but the worst ones was, "You're such a good girl," as if I was a freaking dog. This seemed to be his favorite thing to call me. The last time we had lunch together, he wanted to walk me out to my car. I'm much taller than he is, so when he put his arms around my shoulder, it forced me into an awkward position while walking. I asked him to let go of me, but he pulled me in to hug and patted my back so hard that I was actually winded from it and had bruises on my back. I asked him to stop calling me pet names, but he didn't stop until I cut contact with him. During October, he invited me to go to a local farm and do a corn maze with him and his cousin. When I got there, he had arrived a bit earlier than I had, and rather than wait for me, he went in without me. Normally, I wouldn't have a problem with this, except for the fact that he had fought me almost tooth and nail to let him pay for me to get in. He ended up not even paying me back for the admission or the food like he had promised, and between his awkward unwanted hugs and comments, he kept calling me pet names, and that I really didn't appreciate. Around mid-December, I started also helping his family with their coffee business, and they paid me to clean out an old machine that they were going to start using for canning. This would have been fine, except for the fact that I was working out of the workshop, which had no heat in the winter months. Both of us live in the mountains, so winter gets very cold around here. The only source of heat I had was a tiny space heater that barely kept my toes warm. Nice Guy would also help me clean the machines to prep them for canning. By help, I mean he would sit and stand there and creepily stare at me from behind while I was working and would give me a surprise hug that were unwanted. I couldn't take it and ended up quitting. They weren't paying me much anyways. And now we come to the straw that broke the camel's back, the event that caused me to break contact with him. He invited me to go bowling with him. Despite me having made it clear that I didn't like bowling, I ended up just sitting there while he bowled and ordered drinks and food for himself. All the money his family had paid paid me had gone towards gas and groceries, and helping out with family expenses. I didn't expect to have the luxury of buying a game, or even any food or drinks. He was also continuously calling me pet names. It was very awkward. Finally, he finished playing. He wanted to continue hanging out, and I wanted to go to the thrift store to see if I could find a cheap skirt I could tailor to fit me. There was a thrift store down around the corner and a ways, and he agreed to go with me. We had both drove in our own cars, so I gave him the direction to the store so that we could meet up. About halfway there, he takes a turn down a road that would have taken him to the thrift store, so I thought nothing of it. I arrived at the store and didn't see his car anywhere, so I decided to call him. He didn't pick up, so I waited a few minutes and called him again. He picks up this time and said that he was already there and went inside because he thought that I had already arrived. I thought maybe I just didn't see his car or he had parked somewhere else, so I went inside. I didn't see him anywhere even after searching for him. I decided to call him and he didn't pick up. Again, I waited a few minutes and then called again, but he didn't pick up. After trying to call him every few minutes or so, he finally picked up, saying that he was in the dressing room trying stuff on, and that we should go to the local mall, and that if I found a skirt that I liked, he would buy it for me. I texted my mom, and she wasn't happy with me. It was a school night, and it was starting to get late. I didn't have any homework, but I needed to be up early to get to school on time, but I couldn't get a hold of Nice Guy to tell him that I needed to go home. I called, and after 20 minutes, he finally calls me back, saying that he was in one of the department stores at the mall already. I went in to look for him because at this point, I decided that I was done with the friendship, and I wanted to say it to his face, but he wasn't there. I looked and couldn't find him. I eventually ended up walking the mall, looking to see if maybe he had gone into a different shop, and the time calling him every few minutes when he finally calls me back. Apparently, he had never even made it to the thrift store, and that he was sorry for lying, and that his Asperger's made him convulsively lie. He wasn't medically diagnosed, it was a self-diagnosis. He had also self-diagnosed himself with schizophrenia, autism, and depression. He had told me that he was self-diagnosed. I told him that was not what Asperger's does to people, as I have a friend who is medically diagnosed and has told me about what it does. He had lied to me about being at the thrift store and lied to me about being at the mall, and rather than pulling over and calling me back, he let the phone ring and left me wondering where he was. I asked him what else he had lied to me about. He mentioned that he had lied about the guy making threats to his family, as well as numerous other things. When I told him to never contact me again, he began blowing up my phone, bringing up all of the nice things he had done for me, and that I shouldn't break up with him because we made such a great couple. I never agreed to go on a date with him, let alone be his girlfriend. I had only agreed to hang out with him under the premise that it was as just friends, but he had meant for them to be dates all along. I told him that if I was having doubts about not being friends before, we definitely weren't friends now. Fast forward to a few days ago, I graduated from high school and it's been about 2 years since he's popped up in my life. I had blocked his number because I didn't want to deal with him manipulating me anymore. My best friend, however, didn't. She got several texts from him asking her how she was doing and other polite things such as that. He also asked her if she had ever timed how long her burps were, and when she didn't respond because she was busy, asked if it was the right number. She was in the car with me and she got the texts, and she was very uncomfortable because she knew what he had done to me. She responded saying that she was doing well, and when he inevitably asked how I was doing, she said, per my request, that both of us have been busy with work and that we haven't had much time to hang out lately. He then proceeds to talk about how much he still loves me and that he wishes only the best for me. He said that he didn't do anything wrong and couldn't understand why I told him to never contact me again. He then proceeds to say that he also loves my friend and that he would do anything for her, calling us both angels, and that he would basically sacrifice his life for us. This made my friend extremely uncomfortable, and she told him that while he was being polite, it was too much for her, that it was making her uncomfortable. call. He then proceeded to blow up her phone, sending her text after text about how he's been nothing but nice and that we were being completely unreasonable. She keeps trying to tell him that there's such as a thing as being too nice, and unwanted compliments are incredibly unnerving, but he isn't listening to her. I think she's blocked him now because he wouldn't stop texting her. I'm worried that he might show up to my house one of these days despite me never telling him where I lived or giving him an address. I'm hoping that my friend is able to move past this because this has really put a lot of stress on her when she's already under a lot of pressure from her job. And for those who might be wondering, the songs are still up on YouTube. I'll admit that while the Nice Guys songs are amazing, they're a little repetitive. I'm nervous to say the name of the songs because I don't want anyone harassing him if they manage to find his channel, and it would be even worse if people start harassing the wrong person because of the name of the songs were the same or similar. Sorry for the long post. If there are any spelling/grammatical errors, they might as well be lost to me because it's taken forever to write this and it's getting late. Thank you for reading if you've made it this far. And with that, that is going to be it with the video. If you guys would like to show your support and see more videos like this one, and I know I haven't done the storytime format videos in a long time, but if it does well, I'd prefer to get back into the rhythm of doing this. Be sure to show your support by leaving a comment down below, just starting up any conversation whatsoever, and if you have not already, like the video and subscribe to the channel and turn on them notifications. I'll be sure to see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and bye bye.